You guys are probably used to seeing them in videos now. My big GreenStalk vertical planters. Now, I'm going to do a super honest video with you guys today, and I suspect I'm actually going to put off a whole chunk of you guys from buying these, and that's my intention. Because these are for a very specific purpose, and that is to save space. They're not miracles. It's a fabby gadget, but it's not going to make your gardening better. It's not going to make your crops grow bigger or stronger or better, or your flowers. It just isn't. The truth is, if you're not already gardening in this particular way, it might make them worse. But I'm also going to tell you why I absolutely love them and why they're perfect for me. And they might be for you, but you won't know that until we go through all this stuff. And I've got things to do, so let's do it. So first things first then, it's a vertical planter. It's basically container gardening, okay? You're gardening in big pots here, and these are built by what's called a tier, but it's each one of these tiers is like a pot, and they're stacked on top of each other. Now, there is a particular design feature of these guys that makes them a bit different from other planters you can buy. It's also why they're much more expensive than the other kind of tiered up planters you can buy, and I'll tell you about that one. But it is basically that, it's container gardening. So what you're seeing here is this, okay, and this is one of the things. Each of these tiers is stacked on top of the other, and they've all got this pipe, tube, whatever you want to call it, in the middle. And they've got one of these little troughs that sit on top, and it's got little holes around the side. This is how the watering thing works. The idea with these is that you water from the top, and that water pours through each of these tiers with these little holes, and it goes down the tube, and each one it hits, it fills this little tray up with water, which then disperses into the tier. So you water from the top, goes all the way through. It just makes it easier to water rather than having to water all these pockets individually. Because that's the thing, this is a great design, but if you had to water each of these pockets individually, it would take forever. It'd be a pain in the neck. So that's just a system that makes it easier. And this top bit is where you put the water into, and it's a big trough that holds that water and then disperses down. So that's the first thing. And this thing, where you can take them apart like this so that you can plant up, is fantastic. It's dead easy. They come apart simply. Or you might decide just to plant directly into these pockets. I tend to put bigger plants in that are ready to go out, so it's just easier for me to lift the tiers off and plant up that way. But it's your choice about how you want to do it. And that's the work I'm doing today. Because each tier here is this big pot. So you've actually got that as an entire growing space. It's not just the pockets. So it means you can actually grow plants that are probably bigger plants than you thought you could, that you would grow if it was just these wee pockets. So it makes a difference about what you can grow in it. And that's why it's super useful for me, because it's given me the space saving because I'm going up. But I can grow big plants in it. So I actually use this for things like tomatoes. I grow hybrid of the sprouting broccoli type plants that are a wee bit bigger, so you can see them here. I also grow herbs and lettuce and all sorts like that, and it works brilliant for me. But it works brilliant because I know what I'm doing with the plants in the gardening, because at the end of the day, I'm just growing in a container. It's container gardening. So you might not have the same success as me if you don't know about container gardening. So let me plant this up, and I'll tell you a wee bit about container gardening, just so that you can think about it. I'm going to explain these, because these are actually a lot bigger than the kind of plants I would normally be planting into the GreenStalks. I'd be bringing these out when they're relatively small plants at the beginning of June. But I'm running out of space in the greenhouse, so things are being evicted because I know tomatoes do really well in my GreenStalks. So I'm being a bit of a meanie and evicting them. But that's fine. It's a good example to show you that the thing with the GreenStalk is it's fully changeable all year, and that's how I grow in it. So if you see anything about these, you're going to see a lot about the mix you put in them, because it's super important. It's not important because it's a GreenStalk. It's important because this is container gardening. You're growing in pots. You need it to be super free draining, because if it's not, the pot just gets really soggy and saturated. There's nowhere for that moisture to go because there's a finite amount of drainage in here. And it means your wee plants sitting in the wet, and they don't like that. So the first thing you need to think about is, if you're going to grow in containers or these vertical systems, you're going to have to make up really good free draining mixes. You won't get the best results if you just pile plain old compost in there, because it'll get wet and it'll start to get a bit heavy and stuck and stodgy, and it's not ideal. So obviously then, I'm dealing with my little micro tomato plants here, and I've got some dwarf tomato plants. But yeah, you can grow full-size plants, but you're going to have to support them quite a bit. And you might not want to put 6 full-size tomato plants in each tier. You have to think about what size of pot would you grow a tomato plant in, and then relate it to this. So if I was growing full-size plants, I'd maybe only do 1 in a tier. But I could plant the other pockets with things like lettuce. So, you get a bit of variety with the GreenStalk, which is what I really like. Now, while we're on the subject of the mix I'm putting in, the other thing you have to remember with these guys is you're going to have to water a lot more than you would if they were in the ground, or even in a raised bed. You're also going to have to feed them regularly. Because what we're doing just now is we're growing in a pot. The water is going to get used up quickly if you've got multiple plants in that pot. The nutrition in that mix is going to get used up quickly because there's multiple plants in the pot fighting for that nutrition. So when you're growing in a container, you just have to do more of those things than you do when you're in the ground. So I think it's safe to say the GreenStalk's not going to save you any time. It's probably going to increase the amount of little gardening jobs you've got to just keep on top of it. But I still love it. So that's just a few plants in. And I know what you're saying, because you've just seen me spin this, and the spinning thing is fantastic. But you're already looking at this, and you're saying, Eli, you've planted all of those tomatoes on pretty much one side, and you've got this pretty bare side. That's deliberate, but it lets me do the spinny thing to talk to you about this, because I've already went through the whole sunshine thing with you guys. And we don't all have 100% gorgeous sunshine everywhere. So when you have things like this, there's going to be a sunny side and a shady side. The same as with a raised bed, a container, a planter, anything. I have the option, if I want to come out every day and just turn this, so that all the plants are gradually getting all the same amount of sunlight as we go. Which is, I have to be honest, until this year, how I did it. But what I'm doing now is I've got all my sunny stuff on one side, or mostly one side. And on the other side, I'm planting it up with my shady stuff. So things like my lettuce and my spinach and all of that, I'm planting up in these little pockets in the shady side. So I can just leave this facing the sun, knowing these guys are kept cool, and there's less chance of them bolting. So it's actually pretty cool. I like it. But you see me plant up plants. Obviously, it's fab because you can do seeds as well, and that's what I need to do next. And that's why, if you look around, I've got some random empty pockets. Because I'm keeping these going all the time. So as plants do their thing and pass, I'm sowing seeds to replace them. These strawberries, they're still growing, but they aren't going to give me any harvests anymore. So I've actually completely moved this around because you can take it apart. They're now at the bottom, so the stuff that is still growing, still giving me crops, can be up at the top getting the sunshine, because obviously tomatoes like heat, sunshine, all that stuff. It's really, really convenient that I can completely configure things to suit myself. But before I sow some seeds, because I'll show you that as well, come and have a good nosy and I'll show you what's going on. So I've got some empty pockets here because there's some seeds going in here. I've got to sow another lot of my French dwarf beans and my little dwarf peas. But under here, I mean, look at this. I'm only growing micro and dwarf tomatoes this year, and I've got loads of them in here, and you can see how well it's doing. These plants are really, really happy. And again, it's because I'm aware of how I need to look after plants that are grown in pots or containers. But it's one of the things I think is interesting, because down here, I've got those broccoli plants I told you about. So these are hybrids, so they're a little bit smaller than a standard broccoli plant. It's a bit more like a small sprouting broccoli. But I'm growing them in here, and they're big plants. Now this, I think, is important, and you need to understand this, because this is why I don't think this is for everyone. And it's simply about the size, because container grown plants, big plants, are going to be smaller than the plants you grow in a raised bed. And I've got these very same things in my raised bed over here. I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to see, but you have to trust me on this one. These plants are much bigger and much further along. I'm cropping off of these guys, and I'm cropping nice big thick heads, because they have a whole raised bed to grow in. Loads and loads of space for the plants to stretch out their roots. They don't get contained, and I don't have to keep feeding these guys because I've amended my soil. So that's all the nutrition they need for this season. So I love the fact that I grow in pots quite often. So I grow a lot of dwarf varieties, and it suits me. And there's a lot of really great advice out there, because lots of people growing these. Things like, I'm doing my dwarf French beans. And I know, because of all the fantastic advice, that I can grow 3 of these per pocket. That's quite a lot of plants. And obviously with seeds, I'll have to water the pocket until they properly establish as plants. Because as much as I think the watering system from the top is brilliant, it's not going to get to tiny little seedlings that are way out here. So just be safe. Just until they establish. So you can see there I've got lots of little lettuce seedlings. That's kind of cut and come again lettuce. It works a treat. And I can just keep succession sown in the different pockets. Same with my herbs. I'm going to do some more. That's why I've left some gaps on the shady side here. So I'm telling you all this stuff, and it must sound like I'm being a bit down on it, a bit less positive than you might expect. In fact, I'm going to guess that quite a lot of you are thinking, you're not doing a very good sales pitch on this, Eli. That's the point. I'm not trying to do a sales pitch. I don't want you guys jumping out and buying this stuff just because I've got it. And I love them. I do think they're fantastic because they suit me and my garden. They suit me really well. But it might not suit you. And here's why. Here's the whole crux of the matter. These are for space saving. I don't have a massive big garden or a big allotment. If I did, I wouldn't have GreenStalks. I wouldn't. I would have raised beds. If I had the choice, I would grow in raised beds or in-ground beds because I can grow more that way. I've got more choice that way. The plants are bigger. I'd get more harvest, more crops. But I don't have that option. Therefore, these are fantastic for me. And I think that's important. I don't want people running out and buying this gardening gadget that they've seen me use and say I love it. And I don't want you buying it just because I like it. I want you to know about it and think about why I like it and think about your situation. Is it the same as mine? Is it? Because if it is, this might suit you. Said you have to water when you're using seeds. Whew. And in this heat, I'm probably going to have to water the GreenStalks a couple of times every day. So, in short, I absolutely love these and highly recommend them if you don't have a lot of space and you're looking for a way to be able to grow a lot in that small space. Because for the footprint of one of these, which is a couple of feet, I can grow more than I can in one of my raised beds. So it's fantastic. The plants aren't as big, they don't crop as much, but it's still worth it for me, and that's important. And the thing is, I don't have any deals with any of the companies that sell these. I don't make any money if you guys buy them. I just genuinely love them, which is why I can be really honest like this and say they might not actually be for you. So have a good think. Okay, it's far too hot out here and I'm going indoors. See you folks.